Have you ever noticed how your life tightens when you tell yourself the soft version? How you drift toward a woman when a decision hurts? How the date becomes a sedative after a day you refuse to judge? How your chest goes hollow when you say, "It's fine," and no, it is not? Have you felt the urge to be understood before you choose to be exact? The instinct to be comforted before you are corrected? The pull to be held rather than to hold the line? Friedrich Nietzsche would not hate you for that impulse, but he would refuse to baptize it. He calls truth a hammer and a mirror. If you want masculine power that does not have to pant for permission, you must endure the strike and endure the reflection. Do not escape in women. Do not hide inside romance to avoid what only reality can teach. Bring the raw truth into your day and let it set your posture before any embrace can warm you. A man who does this becomes steady enough to love without begging and strong enough to stand without noise. Nietzsche treats truth as necessity, not mood. He is uninterested in whether a sentence makes you feel held. He asks whether it orients you toward what is and whether what is can bear your weight. The hammer breaks decorations that keep you from seeing structure. The mirror refuses flattery and returns a face that cannot be negotiated. This is not cruelty for its own sake. It is the kindness of alignment. When a beam is rotten, paint is betrayal. When a motive is crooked, poetry is perfume. You cannot lift until the floor is stone. Begin by admitting where you have hired comfort to impersonate clarity. You ask a partner to reassure you that a job is dignified when you despise its cowardice. You want her to praise your gentleness when your silence is a price you charge to avoid conflict. You offer cuddled sorrow in place of a plan and call it intimacy. The relief is real and short. The invoice arrives as resentment. You start to resent the woman who gave the painkiller because you used her to avoid surgery. The problem is not her tenderness. The problem is your refusal to let truth cut first. Truth pays in 3 currencies. It names precisely, it ranks honestly, and it assigns cost. A precise name ends the fog. An honest ranking puts sleep above scrolling, craft above clout, vows above vibes. A clear cost converts desire into work. This order is brutal only to the parts of you that prefer applause to architecture. If you do not impose it, you will outsource reality to the nearest warm voice. That is unfair to the woman and fatal to your spine. Stand before the mirror in small ways each morning. What do I know and fear to say? What do I owe and fear to pay? Where did I lie by omission yesterday? Then lift the hammer on one plank you have been painting. Replace it with wood that can hold a family. Relief belongs on the far side of that noise. Until then, relief is an escape route disguised as love. When men are allergic to truth, eros becomes anesthesia. The woman becomes harbor rather than horizon, refuge rather than reciprocity, a place to dock broken will rather than a person to meet. Nietzsche would call this a priestly move in romantic clothes. You smuggle avoidance into tenderness and bless it as sensitivity. You project onto her the absolution you refuse to earn from reality. You ask her eyes to make your job bearable, your timidity noble, your resentment moral. You are not loving. You are renting sanctuary. There are 2 common scripts. In one, you choose a maternal partner to excuse indecision. She organizes, reminds, cushions, and gently scolds. You praise her angelic patience and quietly despise her for keeping you small. In the other, you choose a siren to distract you. She burns hot, demands worship, punishes boundaries, and keeps your calendar drunk. You call it chemistry, and secretly know it is a way to avoid the heavy work that would make you interesting without flame. Both arrangements collapse when truth enters. The maternal script fails the moment you must refuse. The siren script fails the moment you require form. The woman is not the mistake. Your use of her is. Stop turning persons into passages that lead away from your duty. Stop recruiting romance to carry loads that belong to your spine. If you build your week on clarity, you walk toward her as a presence rather than a patient or a priestess. If you refuse clarity, you will either be mothered into sleep or seduced into loops. The correction is not celibacy. It is consecution. First the truth, then the embrace. First the plan, then the date. First the standard, then the yes. When a conversation with a woman precedes and replaces your reckoning with reality, you are borrowing comfort against a debt that compounds. She will feel it. She will sense that her warmth is being used to postpone your courage. Respect her by refusing to make her shelter your refusal to stand in the weather. Resolve the hard thing before you seek the soft thing. Return the call you dread. Cut the subscription you hide inside. Choose the demand you owe. Then meet her as a man who wants her, not as a man who needs her to anesthetize his day. Desire without dependency becomes clean. Fire can warm because the house is built. Truth offends your fantasies first. The date declines. The promotion goes elsewhere. Your body tells on your habits. Shame rises like heat. The instinct is to script a soft explanation and to seek a soft body. Nietzsche will not let you. Pain is information before it is a story. Read it as a report rather than a verdict. If you turn every loss into drama, you make pain your stage and rob it of instruction. If you make pain your teacher, the lesson becomes leverage. Rejection is a form of clarity. It names either poor fit, poor timing, poor skill, or poor character. Treat each as a file you can open. Poor fit asks you to refine selection, rather than inflate your need to be chosen. Poor timing asks you to sequence better. Poor skill asks you to practice. Poor character asks you to repent in a currency someone else can feel. None of this requires a chorus. It requires a desk, a calendar, and an apology sent without theatre when harm is real. Failure is a ruler. It measures whether your map matches the terrain. The honest response is to redraw, not to become bitter at the mountain. Bitterness is a luxury manufactured by men who confuse audience with influence. You are not being watched. You are being weighed. Keep what holds, cut what frays, and accept the scale as an ally. You want it to be heavier. This is how. Shame is the trickiest. Some shame is counterfeit, loaded into you by systems that needed you tame. Some shame is earned. Counterfeit shame dissolves under names and disobedience. Earned shame dissolves under repair. If a woman suffered your escape, repay with clean boundaries and vanished demands. If a colleague carried your laziness, carry their weight until the ledger resets. If you defamed yourself with lies, tell the truth where it costs and let the rumor die of starvation. The point is not penance as performance. The point is restoration as proof. Resist the urge to medicate after every sting. Sit in the sting until it sorts. The man who can hold pain steady collects signal others miss. He grows without the theatre that turns growth into content. He stops needing a witness to validate the lesson. He begins to prefer the quiet pride of adjustment to the loud pity of spectators. That preference is a hinge. On one side is adolescence with followers. On the other is a life you can carry with a few real friends. Truth builds or it bruises. Nietzsche does not ask you to weaponize it. He asks you to stop defanging it. Precision is expensive. It ends ambiguity and therefore ends the little permissions ambiguity sells. When you speak plainly, you lose the wiggle room that kept you likable. You also gain a reputation that keeps parasites away and invites adults. Start by cleaning the 3 places men soften the facts: desire, standards, and limits. Say what you want directly. Indirect desire is manipulation. It grooms the other person to carry your risk. Speak interest without performance and disinterest without cruelty. Tell a woman what you are building and what that demands from your attention. Tell an employer what you will not do and what you will. Say no to side doors into your schedule. When you state reality, you give other people the dignity of choosing you or declining you without seduction. State standards without shame. If you want excellence, say it before you ask anyone to join. If you want monogamy, say it before you touch. If you want truth over harmony, say it before a crisis. Standards voiced late are traps. Standards voiced early are invitations. The people who leave are not enemies. They are proof that reality is working. Enforce limits before resentment metastasizes. Boundaries kept first on yourself become believable. If your rule is no gossip, stop bringing it. If your rule is time-honored, stop arriving amended by charm. If your rule is sobriety on weeknights, stop performing surprise at fatigue. Limits stated and lived clear the air. The women you date and the men you lead will either relax or reveal. Both outcomes save time. Do not confuse bluntness with clarity. Bluntness is laziness dressed as courage. Clarity carries evidence, offers alternatives where possible, and accepts consequence without sulking. Speak once, cleanly, then act. Repetition invites bargaining. Bargaining invites the return of fog. Precision is brutal because it stops games that keep your life busy and unbuilt. It frees hours for the work that proves what you claim. Truth must occupy muscle and schedule, or it stays a hobby. Nietzsche's talk of hardness is not romance. It is refusal to live as abstraction. Power that does not touch steel, sweat, risk, and repetition becomes rhetoric. Begin where your hands can confirm your mouth. Train until your body can feel the difference between comfort and capability. Work until your craft can be evaluated without captions. Earn until your generosity is funded rather than performed. A trained body is not vanity. It is a receipt that you can govern appetite and endure boredom, that you understand progressive overload, and that you can impose plan on mornings that do not care about your feelings. A honed craft is not a hashtag. It is a visible competence that forces the world to respond to forms, not theatrics. A funded life is not worship of money. It is the elimination of financial panic as the editor of your choices. All 3 are truth translated. Design the day so that creation precedes consumption. Write before you read reactions. Build before you market. Learn before you speak. Keep a room where you cannot be found by strangers. Keep a ledger where you cannot lie to yourself. Keep a commitment that embarrasses laziness into movement. This is not punishment. It is protection from drift. Choose measures that reality respects. Can your lift move? Can your code run? Can your product sell? Can your promise be verified by a calendar? When measures are clear, you no longer require the praise that tempts you to escape in romance after a day of pretending. You come home with receipts. Then warmth becomes celebration rather than anesthesia. A woman beside such a man can rest because she is not being asked to argue with physics on his behalf. Do not post your every step. Secrecy strengthens form. The muscles you build in private keep you from selling your soul for applause in public. The skills you sharpen in quiet let you speak sparingly and act decisively. The money you manage with restraint lets you refuse work that sells your name to people who do not care if it corrodes. Power grows where truth is proven often and explained rarely. When truth stands first, love stops being a hiding place and becomes a place to work and rejoice. Nietzsche is not against women. He is against using anyone as a veil. After truth, Eros sharpens. You select for respect rather than rescue. You offer presence rather than performance. You demand reciprocity without cruelty and give service without servility. The triangle of your week changes. Reality speaks. You answer. You bring your answer to the woman as a man, not as a boy pleading for sleep. Approach with clarity. State your trajectory plainly and let her weigh whether she wants to join. Welcome her strength without reading it as threat. Guard your boundaries without treating them as weapons. Refuse drama by refusing to outsource your meaning. Keep a clean ledger of apologies and praise. End honestly when you must, and do it without rewriting history to feel superior. Truthful Eros is not cold. It is warm because it has nothing to hide. It laughs easier because its promises have bone. It fights cleaner because its grievances are specific. It forgives faster because its standards are known. It plans children because the house is built on rock rather than on negotiation. It remains erotic because admiration survives when honesty governs. You will still be tempted to use affection as escape when days bruise you. Do the small reordering that keeps love from carrying what truth must carry. Take a walk alone before you take a lap around the same argument. Write the email you owe before you ask for reassurance. Fix what snapped in your code before you concede to being broken. Return to her with the sound of tools in your hands and the smell of effort on your shirt. Bring thanks. Bring news. Bring decisions. Leave the fog outside. The reward is steadiness. A woman beside a truthful man can lower her shoulders. She is not tasked with inventing his courage. She can bring her depth without drowning him and receive his structure without being caged. The pair becomes interesting to reality. That is better than trending. It is how households survive weather and how children learn the sound of sentences they can trust. If this pressed on the habit you keep nursing, write in the comments below a single unsoftened truth you will obey in coming days. Like this video and share it with a brother who measures you by actions. Subscribe and let reality cut first. Let love arrive after. This is the way strength stops apologizing and starts building.